June the 1st, 1980. A cruise liner is leaving the American port of Miami for a 7-day cruise to the tropical islands of the Caribbean Sea. Equipped with the most up-to-date and reliable nautical instruments, this ship is celebrating a remarkable premiere. The world's biggest passenger ship is on her first cruise. It's the easy comfort of a holiday resort combined with the fashionable elegance of an exclusive spa, which this ship offers her passengers. The captain and his officers are doing themselves the honor. Invitation for captain's dinner. An easy and festive mood is prevailing on board in surroundings which are most modern and comfortable and evidently new. Yet this ship has a certain atmosphere which is not known on other cruise liners. You can't put it in words, but you can feel it. It's the flair of a mysterious lady, and indeed this ship is a lady with a past. August the 22nd, 1979. One of the world's biggest passenger liners is moving upstream the Weser. It's the Norway, a ship which only a few weeks before was called France, and some years ago had been the flagship and the pride of French passenger liner trade. Just 20 years old, this slimline giant had, put out of service, already been lying at the pier of Le Havre for 5 years. The former France had been one of the big aristocrats among the ocean liners. When she had finished her last transatlantic voyage in 1974, also an end was set to a more than 150-year-old tradition. It was the last chapter of North Atlantic passenger shipping. At the beginning of the preceding century, there had been those big emigrant ships, on board of which hundreds of thousands of Europeans had set out to seek their fortune in the New World. Once having been dangerous ventures full of hardship, unworthy for a human being, transatlantic voyages in the course of a relatively short period soon became part of the most remarkable amenities of our age. Whoever could afford it traveled first class and didn't only benefit of the restful retirement from everyday life, but also of all the glamour of an era. During the last 5 decades, Americans and Europeans constructed ships that were getting ever larger, faster, greater. A transatlantic trip with the old France took 6 days. 4 gigantic turbine sets generated 160,000 horsepower to drive the 4 huge propellers. At full speed, the France did 31 knots. Today, this 22nd of August, the ship is unable to move with her own power. For 5 years, turbines have been dead and the 4 propellers have stopped turning. The Norway is reaching Germany with the aid of tugs. Yet the ship is showing a great deal of those days' glamour when many passengers preferred sea voyage to flying. There was space for more than 2,000 passengers on the old France, 1,637 tourist class and 407 first class passengers. But already in the mid-60s, more and more passengers were missing. The ever-increasing operating and personnel expenses made sea voyages a losing business. It didn't take long and the airplane had finally outrun the passenger ship. The Norwegian owner Kloster bought the old France in 1979 to have her converted into a cruise liner renamed Norway. The conversion order was awarded to a shipyard in Germany, Hapag-Lloyd-Werft, a company established in Bremerhaven more than 100 years ago. Seaport Bremerhaven. Close to the mouth of the Weser, this town with its 137,000 inhabitants is a considerable trading port, Germany's most important passenger port and the largest fishing landing place on the continent. Harbour and shipyard industry have tradition here. Hapag-Lloyd-Werft. Existing since 1876, this yard today has about 1,300 employees. It once was the repair yard of Norddeutsche Lloyd, Bremen. It was here that the vessels of this great shipping company were repaired and maintained. After Norddeutsche Lloyd Bremen and the Hamburg shipping company Hapag had merged in 1970, the yard was called Hapag-Lloyd-Werft. The building of Norddeutsche Lloyd at Stefanie Kirchweide in Bremen, 1860. 16 years after, an own ship repair yard was settled in Bremerhaven. At that time, mainly sailing ships were repaired, which in regular trade were serving the American East Coast. The first dry dock was built around 1880. It's out of existence now, but even today the yard has one of Europe's largest dry docks. The Norway will have a new silhouette. She will take more passengers and require less operating personnel. But first of all, service will be more economical and more convenient to the environment when the ship is recommissioned in April 1980. A cruise liner has no need for 160,000 horsepower. Neither need she run 31 knots. So the yard will put out of operation 2 of the 4 turbine units in the vessel's forebody. The 2 other turbines will be updated and automated to allow control and monitoring of all functions from a centralized position. The vessel's stern area will greatly change, for the existing closed superstructures and relatively small deck areas are not fit for cruising in the Caribbean Sea. An open swimming pool will be built. However, a winterproof swimming hall can, for obvious reasons, be missed. August the 28th, 1979. Conversion work starts. Shortly before, the yard had verified the vessel's stability in an inclining experiment. This is the biggest ship conversion in the shipyard's history. Until the scheduled completion date, there are 32 weeks. For many a skeptic, reason enough to doubt this project to be successful, since there was practically no lead time for the yard. All decks will be considerably enlarged. The Norway's 2,200 passengers will one day be able to sun themselves on a total of 6,000 square meters of free deck areas. All work is controlled by network planning. All deviations caused by delivery problems, weather influence, or by owners' additional requests for modifications are settled in a daily shipyard meeting and re-coordinated if required. On the old promenade deck, the existing window openings are closed by welding on steel plates. 34 new deluxe cabins are going to be arranged on this deck. Additional 24 cabins of same type are provided for fjord deck, as well as 8 penthouse suites. All decks will substantially be enlarged. In way of existing superstructure parts, additional steel-enclosed staircases and service rooms have to be fitted. Promenade deck will be extended for about 20 meters and widened to suit. The old swimming hall has already disappeared. The large open-air swimming pool provided for promenade deck has also given this deck its new name, pool deck. After the shipyard had come to an agreement with the client concerning major technical details, The design plans for the conversion were furnished by the shipowner. The detail and workshop drawings, however, there are more than 1,200, are prepared by Hapag-Lloyd-Werft itself. During the entire conversion project, modifications are constantly occurring. Materials and spare parts must be ordered, and a lot of the equipment needed is not obtainable on the market within the short period of time, an ever-repeating challenge to the shipyard's management. Here, specially made superheater coils are involved.
Was wir für Radien biegen können. Wir haben hier sehr große Radien drin.
The superheater tubes of the 4 aft main boilers are being removed. They have to be renewed in part. Also, the brickwork-covered furnace. 60 tons of refractory are being broken off and taken ashore in buckets. Later on, 60 tons of refractory material will come back into the system. The old France had 6 condensing turbines to drive the power generators. 2 units are now being removed and will later be replaced by 2 so-called back pressure turbines. The new turbines are additionally generating an exhaust steam quantity to enable production of far more than 1 million litres of fresh water daily. In future, the Norway will be moved onward by only 2 propellers instead of 4. Both outer driving shafts are put out of operation. The inner shafts are just being withdrawn out of hull for inspection.
Wir haben heute die 33. Werkbesprechung. Herr Blanke, wie steht das mit den Anlieferungsterminen für Schalttafelgeneratoren?
Die Anlieferung ist auf jeden Fall rechtzeitig, aber für den Transport dieser Geräte muss also zumindest der Transformator und die Transformatoren total zerlegt werden. Die Einbauhöhe der Transport...
Shipyard meeting. Such a meeting is held aboard daily on the stroke of 9 o'clock. Presiding over the meeting is the object coordinator, the man who has to coordinate and time control all working processes. As a rule, 10 or 12 employees are attending. These are the works engineers, heads of the various branches, estimators and shipyards management.
Sieht das auf den Endtermin aus? Haben wir Schwierigkeiten oder auch für die Dockung?
Auf den Endtermin nicht. Wenn die Entscheidung jetzt fällt, dass wir die Fundamente teilen können, sehe ich kein Problem.
For Norway's power supply, 6 new alternators of much more efficiency have to be installed. The old power generators of the France are being shifted out of the vessel's hull through an access opening.
Herr Lennart, diese Sektion sollte doch eingebaut werden. Warum ist das noch nicht geschehen?
Das ist witterungsbedingt. Wir hatten solch starke Winde die letzten Tage, sodass der Kran diese Sektion nicht nehmen.
This ship conversion is carried out in rather an unfavorable season of the year. Bad weather may cause delays. In this case, strong wind threatens to make impossible hoisting up completed steel sections in scheduled time.
Andere begleitende Arbeiten werden dadurch nicht in Mitleidenschaft gezogen.
Terminmäßig nicht. Wir meinen, das auffangen zu können.
The weather has cleared up. A steel deck section, prefabricated ashore, could be hoisted aboard and is being welded. You can now clearly see the stern area changes its appearance. The work on the aft decks is particularly substantial and time-consuming. Although cranes and other technical aids are available for fitting major sections, the necessary precision with each operation would not be ensured without the handicraft and skill of each specialist workman. Work is going on with the driving shafts. Only the 2 inner shafts will have back their propellers. The 2 outer dead ones will be fitted with steel projection hoods. "600 tons of steel will be installed for the conversion areas and deck enlargements. The largest open area will be pool deck. Its swimming pool has now taken shape.
Wie sieht es denn mit dem Deck da drüber aus? Läuft das?
Da ist die Fertigung angelaufen und wir hoffen in der nächsten Woche auch dort mit dem Anbau der Sektionen beginnen zu können.
At this meeting, the deadlines for completion of various deck areas are being discussed and finalized.
So viel Verspätung haben wir auch noch nicht. Das geht um 2-3 Tage und die konnten wir in der Zeit auf jeden Fall wieder aufholen.
Das werden wir wieder aufholen.
Ist eigentlich das gesamte Holz?
As always, deadlines shall not be exceeded, and this means prompt delivery of materials. In this case, the planking for the decks, which is at the moment being fitted and bolted down in place.
Keine Schwierigkeiten, Befestigung auf den Stahldeck sowieso nicht, aber
Auf den
Aludeck.
Stahldecks bestehen keine
The methods of fastening the decking occasioned no difficulties for the management.
Ausführung als auf den Stahldecks.
Aber wenn wir die Bolzen da nicht aufschießen können, können wir sie immer noch
Dann werden sie manuell geschweißt.
von manuell
Da laufen jetzt zurzeit Versuche und wir hoffen, dass die zum guten Ergebnis führen.
Okay, also können wir sagen, hier hinten in dem Bereich zwar eng, aber nicht kritisch.
Aber nicht kritisch.
Okay, dann können wir das hier wieder
It may always get troublesome whenever the weather is suddenly changing, when storm and rain endanger the time schedule, like here on shifting in big prefabricated aluminium sections for additional deck houses. For in areas where steel work could be avoided, the shipyard had decided in favor of aluminium. This material highly ensures maintaining good stability values because it's light. However, the shipyard had to cope with the problem of providing and processing about 130 tons of aluminium within a very short period. Also, these bulkheadings for the new deluxe cabins and penthouse suites on fjord deck were prefabricated ashore. A lot of these components, as well as staircases and stanchions, had to be adapted to the existing superstructures. When arranging new parts, allowance was made for already existing cable trays, pipelines and air-conditioned ducts. The insulation and prefabricated inner walls, consisting of non-flammable material, will be fitted at a later date. The bathroom cabins with all sanitary equipment are supplied by the inland manufacturer as compact units ready for fitting. The outdoor restaurant on the future international deck opens up the way to various shops, to the rearranged theatre, the new cabaret, the international club and to the church. By lengthening of the deck houses, 2 150-metre-long shopping streets are created on port, respectively starboard sides, which will be called Fifth Avenue and Champs-Élysées. The lifeboats of the Norway can be overhauled independent of the weather in one of the workshop halls. They're in good condition and are generally in compliance with the technical requirements of our days. The number of lifeboats need not be increased either. The Norway will accept about 150 passengers more than the old France, but the number of crew members will be considerably less. Also, the black paint of the France has disappeared. An area of 23,000 square meters had to be grit blasted. The owner has not yet made up his mind as to what color the vessel once will have. Extension work on all decks has meanwhile been completed. The pool deck, which is the first deck to get new wooden decking, is being prepared for this process.
Jetzt habe ich eine schöne Überraschung. Der Reeder will oben zwischen den Schornsteinen noch ein Schwimmbad haben, weil er meint, das hinten ist nicht ausreichend genug. Was würde...
The owner has expressed an additional request. Between the two funnels, where for the time being an open patio is situated, another swimming pool shall be arranged.
in der nächsten Netzplan-Diskussion mit reinbringen.
Das neues Außenbad sein oder?
Nein, oben wo der Patio ist, da will er ein ganzes neues Schwimmbad rein haben, zwischen den Schornsteinen.
Mit Bars.
Mit Bar,
The owner leaves the final decision to the yard, on condition that the time schedule is not interfered with.
so ein schönes Geländer, das kriegen wir aber hin. Wichtig ist, er lässt es nicht machen, wenn wir ihm sagen, In der Zeit ist das nicht zu
Dann
machen.
macht das nicht mehr.
Dann müssen wir das aber auf jeden Fall neu mit austrocknen und das müsste auch ins Programm da reinpassen.
Aber wir sind ziemlich sicher, dass wir das hinbekommen, denn wir haben ja noch Material. Und,
das könnte aber sein, dass das dadurch der Netzbau ein bisschen, der Ausdruck ein bisschen länger dauert.
Ja, Frage ist, sollen wir es überhaupt noch mit reinnehmen? Das ist ja auch noch eine Sache. Das ist
Wir
ja ein
können
echter
Balkenplan machen.
Zusatz.
Oder wir können Balkenplan machen, das geht schneller.
Vielleicht das über einen
Ja,
Balkenplan machen, in den Netzplan integrieren.
Ja.
The decision has been made. The new swimming pool shall be built. The yard will estimate, make arrangements, provide labor force and materials, and the coordinator will finally incorporate all working operations into the network plan. The new deck houses. The decks seen here are called Viking deck, Pool deck, International deck, Oslo deck, Fjord deck, and Sun deck. Meanwhile, decision has also been made on Norway's new color. The superstructures will remain white, the vessel's hull will be blue as the sea. On 40,000 square meter area, painters will have to use 100,000 liters of paint and thinner.
Probleme, wenn wir mit dem Tender runterkommen, gehen hier an der Schanze, an der jetzt...
On cruising, the Norway will land at tiny, mostly uninhabited Caribbean islands to allow her passengers to have some hours of recreation ashore. For that purpose, 2,200 persons will have to be disembarked within a relatively short time and be taken back aboard. For this, the Norway will have 2 small tender boats to accomplish this task in shuttle service. Each boat can carry 400 persons.
Das glaube ich kaum. Das wird wohl nicht in Übereinstimmung mit den Forderungen der Reederei sein, denn das verändert doch gewaltig von der Seite her die Silhouette des Schiffes.
January the 27th, 1980. The Norway is being dry docked for the second time. Hapag-Lloyd-Werft is an up-to-date industrial plant. The modern management, computer-controlled planning system, the technical production facilities, and highly qualified skilled labor are all complying with the most recent technical development. But nevertheless, this biggest passenger ship entering dry dock is not only a remarkable operation in itself. Remarkable also is the dockage. This dry dock, which in the heyday of ocean passenger shipping had been occupied by the largest and best-known German ocean giants, dates back to 1912. In the 30s, it once was enlarged, and in 1966, the tremendous pumps were renewed. The steam engines of the pumping unit are still doing service, as they did more than 75 years ago. It's the last impression of a past era, a touch of romanticism in a modern world.
Welche Zeichnung ist er da?
3P69 715.
Zeig doch mal her.
Simultaneously, with the work proceeding on board, planning and drawing is going on, as provided by the network plan.
Den Kugelschreiber, den wollen wir uns mal näher ansehen. Können Sie mir mal sagen, die Breite in etwa unten im Dock, die wir da zur Verfügung haben?
The engineers and technicians in the drafting offices are constantly in touch with the ship owner and, of course, with the production. Whenever there are problems with constructional details, it's here that alternatives are searched proposals are prepared, solutions are found. And the primary aim is never neglected, the intended completion date. Now, with the vessel in dry dock again, the so-called side thruster systems are being put in hand. So far, the huge ship was unable to maneuver in narrow port basins without the aid of tugs. This will now change due to the side thruster installation. On either side of the ship, openings are cut in and tunnels are fitted where electrically driven propellers will care for sidewise pushing of the ship. The driving shafts of these side thrusters are in transverse line to the vessel's longitudinal axis. Since the France was not constructed for this type of maneuvering, now additional steel reinforcements have to be fitted in the hull. Operation of this side thruster system will also be possible from bridge by controlling each propeller separately. The total output of side thrusters is 10,600 horsepower to produce a thrust of 125 tons. In this way, the Norway will in future also be able to maneuver in limited ports without tugboats. In forebody, 3 thrusters will be fitted. In aft body, 2 units. Under a weather-tight protecting cover, wooden decking is laid onto pool deck. 2,700 square meters of the open deck areas will have conventional wooden decking. Real handicraft work is done here, which can only be performed by skilled ship carpenters. The wooden planks are made of Oregon pine and are laid onto deck pre-cut to size and planed. The steel deck has been given special preserving coat, and over and above thousands of steel bolts were welded in. The planks are screwed on by bolting, replaned, and upon completion, joints are cast with special compound. The interior design of new cabins is nearing its final stage. Wall panels are cut to size and fitted in on the spot. March the 27th, 1980. There are still 4 weeks until scheduled redelivery to the owner.
Ja, Schwimmbad oben ist ja drin, ist abgeschweißt. Penthäuser sind wir dabei an der...
Yard Managing Director Eckhard Knot. Here's the reports on work in progress on the swimming pool and the penthouses.
Ist abgeschlossen, elektrische Kabel liegen alle. Es wird jetzt begonnen, die Wände zu errichten und auch die Verglasung zu den Balkonen herzustellen.
The cable and AC ducts are hidden behind wall paneling. 8 new air condition systems and 9 return air systems were installed in the converted and new areas. All accommodations have in-the-vent air condition systems and thermostatic operated room temperature controls with a total of 82 separate control circuits. The pool deck on the forebody. Meanwhile, both passenger tender boats have been suspended to their huge davits. Each davit arm can take up to 30 tons load, and thus might be the strongest and most efficient davit type ever built so far. Each boat is 26 meters long, and the boat shape permits direct landing on shallow beaches. The new bridge. The bridge will fully be re-equipped, for the technology of existing navigating gears was more than old-fashioned. Usually the bridge of an ocean-going ship is the control stand of the captain. It's from here that instructions are given to the operating staff of all steering and propulsion systems. The bridge of the Norway will, in case of need, allow to produce all these functions directly. 71,000 meters of cables for control and measuring lines were installed throughout the ship in the yard. The main turbines, steering systems and side thrusters can be directly operated from this position. For all electrical installations, also nearly 140 kilometers of cables were run. The necessary power is generated by 6 new alternators having 16,400 kilowatts capacity and 6,000 volts each, driven by the 4 existing turbines and 2 new back pressure turbines. This power is sufficient to operate the 2 new AC compressors and 5 new side thruster systems directly. Over and above, 6 new transformers will cover the vessel's entire electrical current demand.
Was kommt ja denn sonst noch Plan der Rede an weiteren Neuerungen?
Once again, a special request from the owner. The backstage technology of the theatre is to be completely renovated.
denkt daran, er will in dem Theater später mal große Musicals aufführen und will jetzt die Bühne verlängern und dann so eine zusätzliche Bühne und eine riesen Musik- und Theaterbeleuchtungsanlage dort installieren lassen.
For musical productions, an enlarged stage as well as up-to-date lighting and music reproduction systems will have to be constructed.
Old-fashioned Style, dieses Theater, und es ist wohl weniger geeignet auf einem Kreuzfahrtschiff.
The object coordinator has doubts about keeping to the time schedule. But the team is optimistic.
Das wird völlig umgestaltet mit Movable Bar und jetzt auch noch ein flottes Theater. Ich meine, ich kann mir das im Gesamtkonzept schon gut vorstellen.
The theatre has been converted as ordered, and while work is proceeding in the shipyard, the first rehearsal is already being held on the stage. Designs for the interior outfit have been created by the worldwide known architects Tage Wandborg, Copenhagen, and Donje Martin, New York. The new carpeting was fabricated in Britain, particularly for the Norway. Carpet patterns have expressly been designed for this ship. New carpets will be fitted throughout the ship. These are 36,000 square meters in passengers area. And in addition, another 4,000 square meters in cruise area. In total, 40,000 square meters, which were procured within record time and are now being laid out. March the 30th, 1980. The vessel has left dry dock again. There are only 3 weeks left until delivery date. Work is done also at night. Time is pressing. Aft engine room. The boiler plant and the 2 turbine sets in the vessel's aft part have now been updated and reactivated. With 80,000 horsepower output of these 2 remaining turbine sets still was too high. Capacity has been reduced to 40,000 horsepower to allow, when transmitted to both propellers, a maximum speed of 24 knots. At about 17 knots, the vessel is run in the partial load range. The 2 turbine units in forward engine room will not be put in service again, which once also had 80,000 horsepower. They are redundant now. Consequently, the ship will now have only a fraction of her former fuel consumption, about 1,000 tons of heavy fuel for 1 week's cruise in the Caribbean Sea. Due to the extensive automation of driving systems, also engine personnel will be saved. A new engine control room will be arranged for centralized control of all operations. All technical service operations can be initiated and supervised both in position and from this control room. The necessary particulars for engine operation are transmitted to this place through local substations. The display unit will, if needed, show all measuring points for checking purposes. The shut-down forward engine room has had an additional steam generator fitted, which is heated by recirculated heating steam from the main boilers in aft body. This space also took a most up-to-date incinerator plant. 2 sewage collecting tanks were installed in forward cargo hold and are prepared to connect up the treatment plant to be fitted later on. It has become more quiet on board. The scheduled conversion period is almost over. The 2-class passenger ship France has changed into Norway, a cruise liner that is shortly going to accept 2,200 tourists on board to grant them the pleasures and benefits of a sea voyage without having to run a race against time. Windward dining room, where 570 passengers may have their meals at the same time. Checkers Cabaret, the former first-class main lounge. Leard dining room, with a capacity of 600 persons on 2 levels. The North Cape Lounge, previously tourist class main lounge. April the 24th, 1980. Work is done, fully on time, as scheduled. The Norway is ready alongside quay for redelivery. 1 week after, she will leave via Oslo, Southampton and New York for Miami. A red letter day for the shipyard, also for the Norwegian owner and the numerous guests of honor. It's intended that final work on the interior outfit be completed yet in the week to come and on the way to Oslo. But even this day, it's clear that the Norway will leave Miami for her first Caribbean cruise on June the 1st, 1980.
You all know how much this ship was focused all over the world, and we are proud when we got the order, and we are now more proud that we could finish this enormous transformation in such a time that the ship can start her first cruising as originally scheduled on the 2nd June out of Miami, Florida. The Catisac was built in 1869 and was one of the most famous and beautiful ships in those days. Her first master, Captain Modi, gave her the following testimonial: "I never sailed a finer ship, a grand ship, and a ship that will last forever. I wish you the same for the SS Norway, for the captain, and for the crew." And now, dear guest, I would like that we bring 3 cheers for the SS Norway. Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray!
I feel very strongly, as I stand here today with you, that it's a tremendous privilege for me to be here today and to have this opportunity on behalf of all the people in our company, on behalf of the Kloster family owners, to share with you our pride and our satisfaction, our great admiration for what has been accomplished here in Bremerhaven.
Shipowner Knut Øystein Kloster expresses his company's thanks to those men who, at the head of Hapag-Lloyd's Werft, could within 8 months only furnish the proof of the efficiency and reliability of the German shipyard industry.
And ladies and gentlemen, as the Americans say, let's give them a big hand. Thank you very much.
The applause for the men who have turned old France into new Norway has faded away. Southampton and Oslo were the last stations on Norway's voyage. Coming from New York, the vessel now is on her way to Miami. Starting there, more than 2,000 cruise enthusiastic people will come aboard every week to enjoy themselves of all the amenities of a Caribbean trip for a few days free of care. The Norway is ready for service. A new kind of working day is starting for the cruise liner. Most passengers are North Americans, but more and more Europeans too become fond of the Caribbean Sea and of the American way of spending leisure time. US citizens are greatly conscious of leisure time, which certainly has to do with the fact that the annual vacation period in the United States is shorter than that of Europeans, for instance. Time is money still applies to the USA, and whoever tries to purchase the favor of Americans in need of recreation must have very special offers. Luxury has its price, but it's not at all unattainable to the average person. This show was staged only a few weeks before in an exclusive Las Vegas hotel. And those who appreciate Las Vegas, not only for its entertainment, can also get their money's worth. The ship has a total of 12 public spaces, and each space was given a particular appearance and a very special atmosphere by the architects. You can find something to suit for any hour of the day and any attitude of mind, and of course for any appetite. The last snack is taken at the midnight buffet. The last station on your stroll at night, a club called Dazzles, the funniest discotheque that has ever been launched, as expressed by the ship owner. Any comment is hardly necessary. It wouldn't be understandable anyway. Leisure time pleasure in the American way means nothing should be lacking. On the Norway, there is nothing lacking. There are sporting facilities and shopping centres, a cinema, a multi-confession church, bars, saunas, kindergarten, party games, educational courses, charades, a library, and an onboard TV station with receiving units in each cabin. Over and above, there is much water, a lot of sun, and a particular feeling to witness all these things in the world's biggest passenger ship. For a change, tourists may go on an excursion to a lonely tropical island, which the owner had bought especially for the Norway's passengers. One of the last, almost virgin paradises, far away from civilization and everyday life, away from hectic and datebook trouble, and immensely far away from a town in Germany called Bremerhaven. Only the technical world will remember that it was there that a grande dame of the oceans, the France, was within 33 exciting weeks made a light-hearted lady, the Norway.